What's up, guys? Welcome to my channel, and today I'm joined by my good friend Alex Skrindo.
Yo, what's up?
And we're going to talk about how we made our official remix for Alan Walker and Ava Max.
I'm not gonna make it
So first, Alex, do you want to explain how we actually got to do the remix?
Yeah, of course. So the whole remix started by me asking Alan's team, Mir, for this stems, and if it was possible to do a remix. I did, and I made multiple versions and sent it to Mir. They actually wanted some more modern and festival sounding. So I ended up texting Sebastian.
Woo.
And then this happened, and we made it official.
Yeah, because we've been talking about like creating a track for so long.
Yeah.
So it was great to finally do something together. And we're going to walk through the track right now.
We were young, posters on the wall, praying we're the ones that the teacher wouldn't call. We would stare at each other, cause we were always in trouble.
And so for the breakdown, we got her vocals, obviously. But since they were already processed so much in the original vocal stem, we didn't want to do a whole lot to it because she has some great engineers doing her vocals. But because we're doing an EDM track or banger, and the original track was more pop, we felt like we wanted to boost her vocals a little bit. And we did that by obviously doing some EQing
Sorry.
and doing some OTT. And this OTT, if you haven't downloaded it yet, you have to do it. It's kind of like a multi-band compressor, and the whole purpose for this is that it just lifts the sound so much up. And then we have the Maserati vocal plugin, and this just adds some sparkle to the top end of the vocal. And then obviously I've cut it off in the end because we don't want any unwanted frequencies in this area. Then there's a send bus to a reverb and to a delay. And the reason we use the send buses is because if you just put the reverb right here, I wouldn't be able to control how much low end of the reverb I got from this. So over here, I'm able to exactly go in and control how much of the reverb I want to hear. So after we got the vocals, we obviously stretched them a bit because the original track is 88 BPM.
Yeah, exactly.
And we stretched them to 110 in the breakdown. We didn't want to stretch them to 126 as we had to drop in because it was too much. And
It ended up sounding too much like chipmunks and stuff. We couldn't use it.
Exactly. So. We have stretched her vocal right before the drop though, because it's so short so you wouldn't really notice it.
I'm not gonna make it
But I promise you, if we had kept this vocal tempo the whole way, it would have been
exactly
a disaster. Anyways, with the vocal as well, we added this deep vocal, which is her voice as well.
Posters on the wall.
But just pitched down. And I like to do this in my tracks because you don't really hear the voice, but it just creates a nice tension to the track, I feel.
Posters on the wall, praying we're the ones that the teacher.
And especially in this kind of genre, we really wanted to have it like deep and gritty and moody. Yeah. This helps with that.
It actually also feels a lot of missing frequencies.
And then we have our synth, and Alex, he sent me then some chords and this plug as well.
So like the plug that's from Avenger. I did some Echo Boy for the tremolo effect and doing like the panning on the delays. Let's echo.
Yeah. And then I fucked it up afterwards because I screwed up your whole thing nice. by first like doing an EQ and then this baby here, and then with it. It's super nice. I added this decapitator.
Some distortion there.
Yeah, exactly. And it isn't much, but it's just to give it a little more grimy, gritty feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
And then some reverb. What you can use reverb for is, of course, as a sound effects, and because you want this roomy vibe. But this reverb can also be used to put things in the background of the mix. Because obviously when you have a dry element in your mix, if you have a lot of reverb elements around it, the dry element will sound close and the reverb elements will sound back in your mix.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's actually to create some room and a bigger sound. And then we have obviously some chords layered, and some on top. And the processing on these is not really that much, because it's just for atmosphere purposes, just low cut it a bit. What I've done though to create some whiteness in the mix is that I have cutted them some dBs in the middle, which means that the middle frequencies or the mono frequencies will duck down a little and make the sides sound higher.
That's super smart.
And then an OTT, yeah, and then because after the OTT creates some unwanted low frequencies.
Yeah, exactly.
So we just gotta make sure to cut it a bit. And it's the same processing over here, right here. And instead of cutting, I actually boosted the sides. You can do that in here, and it just puts the chords in the side of the mix, which I feel like is really nice to have. And then I have this little guy, which is like my, I think, main signature sound. And it's really not that complicated. It's more like about the MIDIs than it is about the sound. It's just a serum synth with some LFO, and the LFO triggers the filter, which means that you can see here every time the synth hits, it creates this raw effect. You can hear it without anything. So it's pretty basic. And then I've actually boosted it a shit ton in the top here, just to, because I felt it was kind of dull. And then some OTT. And for this purpose of this song, I didn't want it to be that clear in the mix, so I've actually added an EQ. I've high cutted it a bit, and then just a buzz to a delay and some reverb right here, and that's it. Nothing more. Is the whole trick is in the MIDI to get that right, because the sound is not that complicated. And then we can move on to the build-up. And as we said, the build-up is kind of our trigger to go from 110 and into 126 BPM.
Exactly.
Which our drop is. And I feel like for the purpose of that, we didn't have any vocal in the build-up. Because if we had the vocal, it would just sound super strange being pitched up. So instead, we added our main plug from the drop. And right now it's super filtered down because we didn't want to reveal the whole plug. I feel like sometimes people create build-ups but they don't filter down the lead synth.
Some people just put a dry synth in with like no reverb, no filters, nothing, and just like it is as in the drop.
Yeah.
And it doesn't create energy for the drop, and it also just comes like unnatural when you eventually make it to the build-up through the song. So like making a lot of reverb and filter it down really makes it more as a natural transition to the drop. And
actually we do this trick where we, before the drop, we actually make the reverb go away, so the sound will be drier and drier and more in your face right before the drop. Other than that, we have some drums over here. Martin drums.
I love those military steps.
And these kicks here, what we use it for is just like you go from 110 until 126.
Exactly.
So you need something to like, okay, this is the tempo we're going at now.
Yeah, exactly.
Then right before the drop, we have to have this little vocal chop. And it's actually Ava's own voice. I think I took it from a part. Oh, it sounded like this. Yeah. And then I just chopped it up. And because I wanted to have this like rhythm going on before the drop, because without them, it sounds like this. So these create some tension, and I have first just EQ'd them, of course. Then I'm using this pitcher, it's Logic Zone, and I've just enabled the robotize mode, which makes everything the same tonality throughout. And you can hear if I just used Ava's voice. And it's just to make sure that there isn't any unwanted tonalities in the sound.
Exactly.
Then, because it's a pretty gritty track, I would say, I've used some decapitator, and I think decapitator has a lot of times in this project. But it's just it takes everything down to the dirt and just kind of like creates this whole gritty atmosphere, which I feel like this remix really has. Then OTT, obviously, and then some reverb, kickstart plugin, just to create some movement and sound.
Exactly.
And some tremolo effect, keep it going sound from side. And then just Logic Zone plugin here to create some movement once again. And all together, it just creates some tension right before the drop.
I'm not gonna make it alive. I'm not gonna make it alive.
So now we've reached the peak of the track, the drop, and I feel like we took it in a bit of a different direction than the original song was, but it was also for the main purpose of creating something that you could play on the clubs and that you could groove to. We also have been super lucky to have Alan Walker supporting the remix.
Yeah, exactly. So Alan even played the remix way before it was released. So we just saw like on like Instagram stories from a club in Las Vegas where he just dropped it live, and I'm like, hey Sebastian, it's getting good.
Yeah, I remember like you sent me a story and I just checked it, and I wasn't sure if it was going to be released, and it was just Alan playing it in the club. And it's just
Exactly.
like, okay, this is going to be great. And I feel like the drop has quite a lot going on. So I think maybe we should start with the main element, the leads, which is a combination of a few different leads. And I personally feel like when I produce, I kind of like to have like my main lead, and then that oftentimes isn't enough. So I also like to have something to fill up the frequency space and create the body. And then I like to have something weird going on in one of the leads as well, in order to separate the sound from anything else you hear. And in this case, we have the main lead here. Then we have our low end plugin, which creates the body. And then we have this super weird lead, and it sounds weird in itself, but it makes sense in the context of this track. Super weird and quite ugly actually, but it sounds insane with the whole track. And this lead plug is actually a sample that we put in here. So I can't take credit for the sound, but I did fuck it up a whole shit ton out in my channel strip. Without everything, it sounds like this. Still quite nice, but I felt like I needed some EQing first. Then I have this one, which modulates the whole summoning signal from the old mixer channels, the old analog gear, and it just creates some drive and some saturation. Then I have this plugin, and if you don't have this one, you have to go and buy it right now. Close this video. I don't care about the reviews. You just have to go and buy this right now because it's insane. I think Axel had a video about it. It is actually a guitar plugin, but it just beefs the sound up so much. Then afterwards, we added this decapitator, and I think we went a little bit crazy. Not that much. Yeah, I set the wet to like a 50%, but the drive is all the way up. So it's just adding some more beef. Then to boost up the top ends, I've used this SSL EQ.
I like the high end boost.
Yeah, and also this SSL EQ, because if you boost in Fab Filter EQ, this is a very transparent EQ, which means that if you boost the high ends here, you'll just boost whatever sound you have in the first place. So if you feel like my sound is great, but it needs some more sparkle in the top end, you won't get that by just boosting from a regular EQ. This EQ, however, adds some harmonics to the sound when you boost it. So it's actually a saturator as well, which means that when I boost the top ends here, it creates some harmonies that wasn't in the lead before. And that just brings this whole sparkle to the sound. Then I have the OTT, obviously. And then I'll just skip the reverb for now. Just some more settings here. Add this stereo plugin. Yeah, magical. This is me when I use Maserati. It's just so happy. Just bring the sound out a bit.
That's so cool though. I've never even seen that one before.
That's insane. And then this Valhalla, just having the reverb with a really low decay, which just creates this whole boxy feel.
Yeah, exactly.
And that just creates the whole vibe. Then on top of that, we have the low end plug here, and pretty much same processing, just another sound. Sounds pretty dull, but with everything. And then I finished it just with the direction mix, and I've just pushed the sound a little bit more into the mids, because I feel like when you layer leads, and this is really important, when you layer leads, you gotta choose what place to put them. And I feel like this lead is the body, so obviously you have to put it more in the middle, where this is more the top end, so you can spread that out a bit more. And then at final we have the last lead here. Yeah, that's the one. It's just same processing again. And together they sound like this.
Sounds so nice together though.
Yeah, quite nice. And then in the second part of the drop, we actually have a different lead. I don't know if you agree with me, but sometimes you listen to tracks and it's the same lead in the first part of the drop and in the second part, and that just does that you won't get as excited about the second part.
Exactly. It's also a lot of things that I myself have taken note of, why I just halfway through the drop add some more either like high end or something to make the sound more interesting.
Yeah.
And sometimes I even switch out the whole sound but keep the same melody.
And that's what we did here as well, with this rave lead, which comes in here. And I feel like it's important to add the second lead, because otherwise it'll just be the same over and over again. Then we also bounced out the lead and created these reverse effects. And they just keep the groove going as well.
And also fill out all the empty spaces.
Yeah, exactly. Now for the bass lines. I've gotten a lot of questions about the bass line. The whole reason for the bass line was to make it super cloggy. Obviously we have the sub bass here. And there isn't really a lot going on there. It's just like a quite nice sine wave with some high cut. Beefing it up with some decapitator. And the reason why you add saturation to a bass line, or at least I do, is because on computer speakers or more like iPhone speakers, you won't be able to hear the low frequencies.
That's true. That's super smart to get like more of the mid frequencies.
And then hit it with some CLA 76 compression. Just keeping it down. And what we did here was that we took this volume shaper and we added it to the kick as well, because sometimes when you sidechain, it's really hard to get like that perfect ratio of sidechain, so like the kick and the bass can breathe together.
Yeah.
When you hold these up to each other, you can actually see, okay, where's the kick and where's the bass line, and that does that. You can see here, okay, the kick fades out down here. That means my bass line is allowed to come up and breathe here.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna improve your mix by at least 50%. It's insane.
Yeah, for sure.
Just having the kick and bass tight, it's gonna improve the whole track.
For sure, yeah. Like the reason sometimes you feel like you can't get your tracks as high in volume as the other guys before it begins to distort is sometimes because your low end clashes with each other.
Yeah, exactly.
And when it does that, it's really hard to turn the volume up without it beginning to distort. So this is quite a nice track. Then for the bass lines we have this one, and it sounds so ugly by itself. Yeah, not that great. It's actually a sound from Serum here. I think it's from the Drop Gun pack. Shout out Drop Gun. Sounds like this. I think it sounded way cooler when I first had it, but I just kind of like automated it with LFO to create this pluggy sound. And the whole sound comes in the channel strip over here. Then I layered it with this one, the percussion plugin, or percussion sound. And what that does is just it adds some tagginess to the bass line. And it still sounds super ugly, and I know, but like in the context of the song, it sounds pretty great.
It sounds so sick. It sounds like nearly as a psytrance bass in a way.
Yeah,
It's so sick.
That's true. And then we took the bassline tracks together and used this one, which is SSL compression, just for gluing them together.
Yeah, exactly. Gotta love it.
Yeah, it's insane. It's so good, so good. All right, and the last bass is this one, which is not playing all the way. It comes in this part, and it sounds like this. This is actually pretty basic, but it's a bass that you don't really hear that much, but when it's gone, you feel like there's something missing. And the whole reason we added this is because we felt like the leads took up so much of the frequency space that when they disappeared and the drum thing came on, we felt like there was missing some frequencies in the mix. Then we have the infamous drums that Alex actually played on his drum kit. Nah.
I wish.
We kind of used the sample, but it was a good sample. And I feel like if we had more time to do the remix, like we said, we had 3 days, we would obviously have made it more elaborated. But it works, and that's the most important thing. The sample itself sounds like this. So for that sound, we have added some EQing as well. This CLA guy, this is for the drums. It's a compression. Then we're fucking it up with some OTT and decapitator. I feel like this project we use a lot of decapitator, but as I said before, it's for creating this whole gritty vibe.
But there's a lot of producers that actually told me that, they put like either saturation or distortion on literally everything, and decapitator is basically just distortion. And you can like color the distortion with the A and T. I guess it's for neutral. I don't know what they stand for, but it's different styles of the distortion.
Yeah, exactly. Then we have another OTT, and then another EQ, and then some of this once again, just to beef it up, boosting the high ends on the body, and then my nice guy here to create some stereo image, and then we actually through here. Alright guys, so this was pretty much our whole remix summed up. I had a lot of fun making this remix with you, Alex.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to say anything.
Yeah, well, this remix was quite an adventure.
Yeah.
I had so much fun, and it was so late nights, just all the time with short deadlines, but we made it, and it's amazing that it actually came out officially.
Yeah, shout out to Alan's team, shout out Ava Max and the whole team at Mia as well for letting us do this remix.
Definitely.
So anyways guys, I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you guys want more tutorials from me and Alex, or even maybe a little collab at some point, write in the comments, and we'll make sure to create some more stuff in the future. Thanks for checking in guys, see you guys soon.